Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilization, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Greetings, salutations, and welcome to Retrek. I'm Captain Jim. With me, of course, Sir Admiral Elliot.
Hi there.
And Dr. Squee. And we're back on the Dominion War. And anyone who listened to last week's episode will know that we decided last minute to cover these episodes because I'd missed them when I did the original list. But today I revised that list. So
having watched them again, I've got to say, I think I was the one who noticed the one of them, and then Elliot noticed the Soldiers of the Empire one, or was it the other way around? But yeah, I think these were definitely good inclusions when you watch them and what they.
They definitely add a bit.
There's actually something we forgot to mention in last week's episode when we were covering Purgatory's Shadow and Inferno's Light, and it's the conversation between Quark and Zial. And when he's really upset, everyone thinks the Dominion's off to take over the station.
Oh,
so
yes.
Quark's really upset, and he's like, "Oh, the Jem'Hadar don't eat, they don't drink, they don't gamble. The Founders don't eat, they don't drink." And then Zial's there, "Yeah, but the Vorta might be gluttonous and drink anything and
sex
gamblers and sex craved." And then you have this episode, and I put it in, and it's why I put it in the thumbnail. And you have Wayun, and he's there loving playing Dabo and all that. So Quark must have been really cheering on. I know we don't see a lot of him, but he must be, yes, get in there.
And I was going to say, when you said about this one, because it's the first one with this version of Wayun in it, but it's also got, it's the first time, and I didn't realize this is the first time they even explored the idea that the Vorta are a clone race. So it is quite a pivotal one in that particular way.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a good one, because that was clearly the case of they must have been sat round and gone, we need a Vorta for this episode. Jeffrey Combs are really good, but we've already killed him. Say they were clones. It'll be
fine. It'd be really interesting to know if they just did that as a throwaway idea, which then paid so many dividends, or they always had this in mind.
I think it was purely, we want Jeffrey Combs back. How can we do it?
I'm with James on this. I could see that.
Oh, yeah.
So, we've done this episode and we killed off Jeffrey Combs because he was in scripted, but he was brilliant as the Vorta. How can we get him back?
I totally believe that. But if it was just if that is the case, then what a thing which paid off so much in the future. That gives them another huge obstacle, because if they can just clone their people again and again, they're impossible to kill until you can take out their cloning factories. That's a really
we already have, to an extent, that the cloning in Jem'Hadar, don't we? We've already established that because they're growing in test tubes.
I suppose it kind of just follows on from that, really.
Absolutely. It's a good idea.
You haven't created something new to bring him back, but they've sort of shoehorned into something else established with the Founders and
this almost retroactively fixes a bit of a continuity error. In the first episode, we meet a Vorta, the Jem'Hadar season 2 finale. Eris has weird psychic powers that we never see any of the other Vorta have. But now that we know they're kind of genetically modified, we can retcon that and go, they obviously gave her them powers because she needed them in that situation to trick Sisko.
Yep, that's a really good point. And the thing I was going to ask you about, sorry, Elliot, did you have something else on this?
No, you go, mate.
The other thing which I was going to bring in as well, with this first episode, so it's the one with Kira and her
Ties of Blood and Water.
Ties of Blood and Water. I was thinking, because this is just a general note about it as opposed to from the episode specifically, but did it feel to you like this was a sort of slightly less good version of Duet from the first series?
I felt like it's not just a slightly less good version. I thought it was a very bad copy of Duet.
Bad copy, but that was all through the episode. All I could think of.
It was almost like we did this amazing episode back early on. Can we do that again? And how can we do do it again.
So I'll get into it as we go through the episode, but there were so many bits which felt really forced in this episode, whereas Duet was such a natural flowing episode.
Duet's just a masterpiece of an episode.
Masterpiece and acting, so well written. The guy who's playing the Kardashian in that episode is just you can feel his pain so well. This one, I mean, don't get me wrong, all the acting is wonderful, like all the performances are great, but the writing in this one just wasn't there for me. And again, they kept trying to force this whole thing.
It's an odd one because it starts off and we bring back Gamor. And like the first episode that had him in, Second Skin, it's a decent episode. It's
I like that one. It's an interesting episode how they're trying to brainwash Kira is that first one.
Yeah, exactly. And the whole idea of having Kira be a Cardassian and facing the things she hates and all that. It's a good episode. It's a strong episode. It's not an episode that was crying out for a sequel. And I'm not quite sure why we did this, to be honest. I don't think it adds a lot.
No,
for me, it was the way they handled it. So they first of all, they have right from the beginning, they keep on pushing this idea that, oh, he's like a dad to you. He's your dad. It's like, no, he's not. Like
no.
Even right from the first premise, she should have been thinking about her dad who died at the hands of the Kardashian. Like that didn't even get mentioned in conversation. And then the fact that, sorry, was she there for like about a month? Now, I believe from that they might have developed a relationship, a friendship, but a parentship?
It helped her escape, and she was put in a situation where, like, part of it was to con him into thinking his daughter had been brought back because they wanted him to spill his, like, the Obsidian Order were trying to get his secrets.
Yeah, and I could see...
But there was nothing there to establish her as being his... feeling like his adopted daughter.
The way I see it is, like, not from her point of view. From his, I could get it, that because he had this moment of feeling like his daughter was back, he might put those feelings on her. Why she would put those feelings on him doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it doesn't.
There was even the first scene where they basically, as opposed to just doing a previously on DS9, which they could have very easily do, they had this felt really forced scene where they got Worf in as the person who wasn't there at the time, so they could explain it to him. Yeah. It was just really clumsy exposition for me.
Yeah, it's a weird setup, and like you say, the relationship doesn't feel earned in that previous episode. No. And they don't even sort of pay lip service and go, oh yeah, we're in touch all the time. In fact, quite the opposite is implied later in the episode that they've not been, because she's like, well, how do you know about me and Shakar? And he's like, oh, I keep tabs on you. And you're like, right, so they haven't had any contact in between. They just had this weird few days where he thought she was his daughter, and that's it.
She was kidnapped, and you can reasonably say that she was mutilated and all because they did plastic surgery on her.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, she's been violated by this, not by him, but by the situation.
Yeah.
I mean, if anything, wouldn't have been a more interesting take if he came to the station, asking her to take his last testimony, essentially. And she was reluctant to do it because she somehow had blamed him partly for her being there.
Yeah,
and blamed the whole situation. PTSD for it.
Yeah, that would have been a really nice twist on it, and something which we hadn't seen from her before. There were so many ways in which you could take that story, and it would be good. And like all the stuff with the Vorta and the Kardashians and Golden Cop, that was brilliant. But the main plot was just like, I preferred the B plot to the A plot here.
I agree. And the B plot's why we're covering this one, really.
And it's a really interesting dynamic between Ryan and Golden Cat at this point.
Yeah, they gave you enough to give you that he's being cuckolded a bit without going fully into it, which gives you more ground to cover it later. But it was peppered in here that he wasn't quite in control as much as he was making out.
Yeah, I like all the stuff about the cat, like right from the start where he first rings up and it's like Cisco says, like, oh, how come you haven't promoted yourself back to Legate? And, I prefer the sound of Gull. It's like, we don't want to change the printing on the action figures. That's why.
I did like his line. It's like, well, it's so much less pompous than Legate or Emperor or Emissary. I would have actually kind of loved it if he had used Emissary, like, oh, I'm the emissary of the Jem'Hadar. What are you talking like?
I do like how Cisco's there just calling him the cat, though. He doesn't even have on it. He just goes, what do you want, the cat?
Yeah. I like that.
That's no way to talk to the head of the Cardassian Order.
Well, he doesn't recognise the government, which is great. Yeah,
the dynamic between them two is great. So we haven't got to this out and out like blood feud yet. We'll get there middle of next season, but at the minute it's almost like the cat's just an annoyance, and
it's like they're playing with each other a lot.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But Sisko cares far less about it than the cat does.
Space, the final frontier.
Sorry, my screen just went off, and then the music came on.
I saw you pressing the button. I go, why is he doing that? Is this some joke like the other week when he was like...
No. Yeah, we're doing the shortest episode ever. I'm going to have to edit that now.
Yeah, that's all I've got to say about this hot mess of an episode.
Yeah.
Bye.
Don't
edit it, leave it in. It's funny.
A few funny things, though. First of all, like, he turns up and he's like, I'm dying. And Kira's like, forget about that. I want you to start a dissident movement. It's like, oh, okay, bit of a different goals going on. And then I love this thing that they do this in all versions of Star Trek, where it's like they don't trust normal doctors. Like, he goes, I've got this syndrome. I'm dying. Get Bashir to check him.
Yeah.
Don't believe what they've told him. Get him in sick bed. It's like you don't need to. He's had a diagnosis.
Don't believe the Kardashian doctors who are experts on Kardashian physiology. Let's get this jack of all trades.
And I would just like it if you had him going, no, it's fine. I've been seen by my doctors and it's okay.
The only thing I would give him is that there is that mistrust of Kardashians.
Yes,
and for some good reason. And also the way that they're playing this episode is that because she sees him as a father, which is bullshit, but anyway, because the episode is wanting us to believe that premise, I think it's more of like wanting a second opinion because she cares so much.
Yes, okay. Talking about the father bullshit then, the bit that's even weirder is where he meets Yoshi, the O'Brien baby. And it's it's almost like I'm her grandfather, his grandfather. Like, how does that work then? So, well, because I'm almost like your dad because we kidnapped you once, and you're almost like his mum because she carried him for a bit. Like, no, that's too much. You are not this kid's grandfather.
Sorry, could you just check out?
Let's grab
that trowel a little bit, dig a bit deeper with it, just to throw a little bit more on it.
Let's be very fair on this, though. Yoshi, when his first appearance, actually was Nana Visitor's son.
Yes, that's true. Okay. So we're getting meta-textual with it. That's fair enough.
Meta-textually fair enough, but in the second episode, it's a push, like you say.
It's an extreme stretch.
I mean, right at the beginning, I was already, like, because I've forgotten some of the beats of this. I've forgotten that scene. So, like, I was already going, it's like, oh my God, how have I never noticed how painfully forced that relationship is? Then when they go, oh, it's like you're his grandfather, it's like, oh, fuck right off now. You can fuck right off if you're gonna
it's too much. It doesn't the father-daughter thing didn't work to begin with, so don't give us this weird grandfather-grandson
thing.
Yeah, very strange.
How's Chief O'Brien gonna feel about that? Oh, by the way, Chief, you know, Kardashians that you hate, that you've been at war with and killed hundreds of. Well, none's your son's grandfather now.
And of course, you can imagine. I met him once for about a week, so you can understand we have that relationship.
You can imagine O'Brien talking to Keiko about it. Keiko's probably like, "Oh, if Kira wants to think that," and O'Brien just getting more and more angry about the whole thing.
It's like that's they're the scenes we should have had that we don't get.
Yeah, that'd have been much better.
He gets on the plane going, "Hey, Starfleet, have you still got the Rutledge in storage? Just wondering if I could borrow it."
And then, I know it sounds like we're having a pop at this episode a bit, but there is something that I don't like structurally about it, which is that we're almost 20 minutes in when we introduce this idea of we're going to have flashbacks to the death of Kira's real father, and we're going to try and juxtapose that. And it's like, if you're going to do that as a structural thing within the episode, it needs to come in earlier.
Yes.
It doesn't work dropping it halfway through and going, oh, this episode's actually a different thing.
Neither does the whole thing of her finding this record. Like, as they even mentioned in the episode, which I think was trying to take the sin off it, they actually say it's like, well, if you really want those records, you could have got them at any time.
You could have found them.
If she's really got that feeling against Kardashians and against them specifically.
And it was 19-year-old, one of 400 soldiers ordered there. It wasn't like he was in charge of anything. He was a private that was ordered to be somewhere.
Yeah.
You don't even know if he killed anybody there because there's.
I think it's more the unbelievability that Kira would have this experience and then not space Google him when she got home, you know.
Yeah.
And also when you said about the what was I going to say? It was about the no, sorry, it's completely gone. I was going to say something.
It's all right though, because
that was it. Sorry, you said the flashbacks with the dad. Pardon me, sorry, just before I forget again. With the flashbacks with the dad as well. Well, the first thing when the dad gets shot and they've burnt the fields and all that, like I don't mind him saying all that, but then he goes like, "Take a look at me." Yeah, your own daughter. You want her to look at you while you're covered to shit with burns and you're dying. No, have a good look, daughter. See what they look to me. It's like surely he would be like, no, look away, I'm too hideous, you know, also
Kira's wearing her one off-duty outfit that is what she wears during the present day scenes when she's off duty, and apparently has had it for 20 years. Anyway.
It's like Wesley only had that one jumper, which every time he wasn't in uniform. Like, you know, in the future, they wear one thing only at any occasion. Either one uniform or
because they have the favourite and they just replicate it every day.
That's a better point, actually, Elliot. I think you're right there. Yeah, I'd do that rather than having to worry about what I'm wearing. Yeah, just replicate everything.
Well, the Einstein theory. Because Einstein used to have the same
with Leroy or John Robinson.
Well, Einstein used to, so he would take the decision making of wearing what he would wear out of a day because it was an unimportant decision to him. He just had a row of the same suit and he would just wear the same thing every day.
But I like that.
Most people probably do like a bit of variation, a bit of
maybe a bit, but I think I'd be up for that. It's a really good idea.
I mean, I'd have a lot of black.
This is my favourite T-shirt. Oh. It's dirty. I wanted to wear that tonight. I've worn it loads. It's getting a bit warm. I'll just replicate a new one.
Actually, when all that's true, but at the same time, all of us could just buy the same outfit 3 times. Like we still have this ability, and we choose not to now.
Machine.
Sorry?
But I'd have to use the washing machine every day.
Yeah, but you still do anyway. But you could just buy the same outfit.
But you wash every day.
Wash myself, yeah, and I also wash my clothes.
Your clothes every day.
My t-shirts and pants and stuff I do. Like
I change them every day, but I don't use washing machine every day.
No, I don't use the washing machine every day. What I'm saying,
I don't even change them every day. Other than
no, Ellie, you've just completely ignored what you said. I didn't say wash the same outfit every day. I said you could just buy 10 copies of it and wear the same thing. You still have that ability.
You could. You're right. We could. Why do I have so many different T-shirts? You're right. I'm going to go to my wardrobe now and I'm going to make some serious changes.
Yeah, I'm just saying, if that's something you wanted, you don't have to have replicators exist to do.
To be fair, I do have approximately 26 T-shirts that are black. With the
I do also, yeah.
I have a lot of black T-shirts.
But they've got different things on, so you've chosen to have differences in the outfit.
Anyway, the point is a massive Jem'Hadar ship turns up and it brings us the B plot, which is far more interesting. And we get Dukat and Weyoun. We've talked about the cloning and everything there. What I find interesting about this is that they go, oh, Dukat, you're here and you're making threats against Gamor and he really hates you and everything. Do you want to go see him in hospital? And they let Dukat go and see it. I'm just like, really?
Well, I like to think they put that to him and he made the decision to let him in.
Maybe so, yeah.
It's just, yeah.
And he basically just goes there to mix it all a bit, doesn't he? He's like, oh, well, it's very Gul Dukat, like trying to manipulate the guy and everything. He's just great, everything he does.
Yeah, and it's a scene ahead, but like I also love the fact that we're talking about building up what the Jem'Hadar can do. Given the fact that he can resist poison is a really nice big, I love the fact they made them so difficult to kill that you have to write good solutions why they why they can kill them, or why they can defeat them. So they have to either close the wormhole, or they have to blow up the mining things cloning facilities to stop them having infinite rounds. Like, it's just really great. And like, now you can't just poison them in a meeting, which would be, they would have had so many opportunities to do it.
It does again, though, raise an interesting question, because Cisco does his whole, how would you like some Kanar? Well, it's been poisoned, blah, blah, blah. So at what point was this intercepted? Did they send someone down with it? Like, just bring a little gift from Gulda Cat?
Well, it sounds like Gulda Cat sent him a bottle of Kanar as like a dying present.
Yeah.
And someone's thought, why is Gulda Cat sending him a present?
Oh, I would imagine
everything that.
I would imagine everything coming into Deep Space Nine gets kind of checked like that. You know, so if someone's just passing on something like that.
Yeah, probably.
From an outside the Federation, probably within the Federation, you might just be able to hand it over. But yeah, it's also like it's the fact that he offers it to Gulda Cat. At what point would Cisco have stopped him if he just poured it thinking it was another bottle?
I don't think
he would. I think he'd have been like, fair enough, right? Quark, erase that video of me giving him the Kanar, and we'll just call this one.
End of day, Cisco's defense is, all I did was give him a glass from a bottle of Kanar. I have not done anything to it. He provided the bottle of Kanar.
That he provided. I was returning it to him, and he decided to drink it.
Because Gamor was too sick to drink it.
And then Dax comes up and goes, Commander, did you get that? Oh, sorry, Captain, did you get the report, the toxicology report? No.
Yeah, no. And yeah, so Descartes mixing it does work a bit, because he's like we touched on. He says this about Gamor, and Kira's, oh my God, you were at this thing that I didn't know about. I hate you now, even though you're my dad.
Wow. But don't you think there's a really interesting dynamic here? Because like, we know the Dominion are in charge of Cardassia now.
Yeah.
Cardassia hasn't just become an equal partner. The Dominion have moved in.
Yeah.
But pretty much all this episode, Wayun is just observing Cisco and Gulda Cat. He's not joining. He's letting them play against each other. And every now and again, he'd just go, oh, this is wonderful, the intrigue and the subtle threats and all that. No, there was no subtle threat when he's offered him a glass of
it wasn't subtle. Yeah, it is good. And it's Descartes is acting like, and I don't think he's that self-delusional. Like, I think he knows that he's basically just like a puppet, but he's trying to act like he doesn't know that, like he is actually in a position of power. But I think he knows full well he isn't.
The other thing is, if you had pushed this too far in this episode, because again, like, his side of it works perfectly. Everything he does and the way it's plotted is brilliant. Like, you know, if you'd pushed it too far, then it wouldn't make sense that he has to be a bit in charge to kind of like be threatening enough in this episode. He needs to be a threat against what they're doing. So if you'd introduce the fact that the Jem'Hadar were in control completely in this episode, it would have ruined that. So their side of it is so well played. It's almost like someone wrote the B plot separate to the A plot.
They probably did. I mean, that did happen a lot in Star Trek, was that A plots and B plots were written by different writers.
Oh, whoever did the B plot should have been on the A plot.
The B plot is brilliant.
Yeah, it is. Then, briefly then with Kira, we get these flashbacks that she left. And we do get a nice bit where Odo goes and has a chat with her and grounds her a little bit. And like, come on, get your head out of your ass. Like, if you wanted to know all about him, you could have done.
But then you get the same scene basically with Bashir again. Like, you can't put those together. Why the fuck? Like, that was really like, did I just accidentally skip to another episode where they were doing the exact same thing?
Like Odo says it perfectly. It
does.
Where Odo goes, he was 19-year-old. He was one of 400. He wasn't in charge. He was ordered there as a private. You could have found this out yourself if you were interested in his past on Voyager. You know he was there, but you've never bothered to look. And now suddenly you're making a big deal.
Yeah.
Whereas if you had Kira right from the beginning being the reluctant one in the relationship to take his, like, she could have been just doing it as a job, just been really cold to him. And when the job was done, and then Bashir comes up to her and says, "Oh, he's dying now." Like, just be there for him as just one being to another.
Well, he could have had a been cold towards him at the start.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying.
But you could have had as she's hearing his confession and all that, and all the things that he's had to do, and the things he's done against the Kardashian government personally, that she starts warming to him a bit.
Oh yeah, I was thinking she gets more hard towards him, and then
which would play to the ending that you get when she buries him.
Yeah,
well, that was what I was hoping. It was like she would be really hard to him. She would be unrelenting, no matter how much he put into context. She was like against it, and then finally, it took one of her friends like Bashir to say, "Just go to him. Just be there as one being to another." Like, no, like he does. Does he really deserve to die on his own? I mean, the fact that Bashir actually says like, "Oh, no one deserves to die alone." It's like, what? I mean, Space Hitler kind of does, like Descartes does. I would argue that point, but maybe he doesn't. Like, would have been a better way to put it.
Yeah, it's weird because none of it's really earned. Like, maybe it would have been more interesting if you'd have had this from Gamor, like Gamor saying, "I think of you as a daughter," and Kira saying, "Well, I'm sorry, I don't feel that way. I can understand why you might see me like that," but that'd have been more interesting anyway.
Yeah,
and like the stuff with the dad, like they're trying to juxtapose this idea that she wasn't there when her dad died, but she is there for Gamor, and it's like, but we don't really feel that as an audience because we've only had about 30 seconds combined flashbacks to learn anything about a dad anyway.
Oh, you could have even had in the first bit, just to your point. In the first bit, you could have just had a nice flashback with them as a family, like them actually having a nice tender moment. While she's having this bullshit relationship with someone she's
You mean during them 20 minutes where we didn't go back to see flashbacks of her dad? We could have had one there.
Yeah, exactly. But you could have had a nice one so that when he gets
that's what I mean.
You care about him more.
I'm agreeing with you. And
I'm agreeing as well.
That's when we could have done it in that first 20 minutes when we had none of these flashbacks.
No, exactly.
We could have set it up throughout the episode.
I got it. I was playing off what you're saying. Yeah,
and it probably would have felt a bit better. But again, I think regardless of the Gamor storyline itself, the cap that Descartes puts on it is brilliant because he's like, well, we're going to say that he was a hero and he did that. It just shows the propaganda machine on Cardassia. Like, this is going to be a big moment for us now.
In his dying breath, he welcomed the Dominion, the union with the Dominion, and he denounced all what he'd been saying. So we've got to give him a full Legate's funeral, state funeral, and parading his coffin through the streets.
That's the thing. They seem to have so many like subtle shades with the Kardashians. Yet when it's the Bajorans, they have two shades. It's either kind of war victims, which of course is going to be strong in their story, or religious. They don't have any other shades. Like Kira is the one who has most shades because she's the main character we spend most time with. But it would be nice to see other aspects of their culture through all the people, and through an episode like this. Again, there was so many other takes you could have made to make this an interesting episode,
and
as opposed to just rehashing an episode really badly.
It's one of these as well where, and a lot of science fiction is guilty of it, but you present these religious planets and it's completely monotheistic. It's like there is one god, or actually in their case it's not, is it? It's the prophets, but so monotheistic is the wrong word, but there's one religion per planet. And it's like, well, hang on, we've got a planet and we've got millions of religions.
How many different religions?
And how interesting would it have been to had an agnostic Bajoran or an atheist Bajoran? That could have been really interesting.
And even though the Pyros, you could have had them ending up being evil, and you could have had them pointing towards evil. But what if there were people who actually followed that religion?
Well, we will get a bit of that later on.
But like you could have introduced that from the beginning, like there is
people who've always worshipped them.
Like there's loads of us who think it's evil, but these people actually see the good in it. And like you could have wouldn't have been even stronger if there's so many people who fallen for it all the way along and have thought it was an actual genuine religion, not seen the evil in it.
Yeah, and stuff like you could have. I mean, this is getting way off topic, but it'd be interesting if you had like Bajorans who followed the Klingon religion or something like that, and that'd be an interesting idea.
Yeah, we've never had that really. Yeah.
Well, like when you think about it, it makes sense. Why wouldn't you have Bajorans that followed?
Well, you would. You'd have
maybe not so much with Bajorans because they're being
cut off.
So they're being cut off. But why haven't you got humans that follow Klingon religion or Klingons who follow Vulcan religion, etc.? Because we've got this huge interstellar
exactly.
community.
It would permeate, and different people would adopt different religions.
Yeah. The only time when you do get this is an episode which was around between the two, which we watched. I think it's Children of Time. You do have the Klingons who follow.
So you do, you're right.
They kind of do, but it's not. That could have been done.
No, it'd be interesting.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, so Kira buries him next to her dad, which I don't buy for 1 second. It's just not earned. It doesn't work.
I do like how the thing though. Like we go back to where there's Gulda saying what's going to happen and all that when they're getting back to Cardassian, and Sisko's there. Well, I see a problem because that never happened, and you get
that's good,
and you get Wayun. Oh, and this is where Wayun is sort of like a master manipulator is there. Oh, that's just a minor problem. That's not even an issue.
And exactly. He also it was another time when he kind of cut Ducat when he goes your public image isn't very good. We're gonna have to work on that, aren't we? It's like
that's a really good
Federation. Come on.
It's like, did you not do your research on him before you picked him to be the head of the government? Like,
because I've just thought when you were saying about when he buried him next to her dad. What if you'd had that? What if the battle in which he died he'd been on the other side in that battle? What if that's the thing? What if?
That'd have been interesting.
Yeah. Because the fact that she must have known that he had to have some blood on his hands from that period. What if that's the thing which sent him over the edge? That would be so much more compelling.
That would be.
He was there as a junior officer. Yeah. He wasn't actually in the combat.
That'd be much more believable if it was you were involved in the battle in which my dad died. Yes, that's much better.
There's so many things they could have done here,
and that's just a minor tweak to the script. Anyway. So let's move on to Klingons then, a bit more fun. Soldiers of the Empire. And I'll be honest, this one, I don't think it's an amazing episode. I think it's a pretty by the numbers Klingon episode.
Middle of the road.
It's absolutely fine.
It's fine, yeah.
But it's establishing, so it's putting pieces into place for the huge war that
it is, and it gives us a bit more on Martok, which we needed,
and it gives us a nice bit on a Klingon ship, which I know we saw it in the Riker episode in early TNG, but we haven't seen a lot of episodes fully on a Klingon ship. It's nice to see a bit of their culture and explain it better.
No, it is definitely.
The thing which I would also throw in is that I thought there were, again, even though this was far superior to the other episode, like you say, it's middle of the road Klingon episode, whereas you could have added a few of the things they put out there. I think they could have embellished a bit more. So when they've got Martok at the beginning talking about having lost his eye, he won't get a replacement eye. You could have thrown that in. It could have been really interesting for him to see the error of his ways and going, well, I want to be the best where I can be. I'm letting the disability get in the way of my abilities, and that would be a really lovely story. It would have
a bit of growth.
People who'd disabled could have seen themselves in that. People who've maybe lost an eye who are struggling to come to terms with it. That's a thing. So there are a few bits you could have brought out to make this a really exceptional episode from an average one.
Yeah, and they will do much, much, much better with this. With Nog's storyline in season 7, but there's hints that we're dealing with sort of some form of PTSD with Martok or whatever the Klingon version of PTSD is.
Cowardice, by looks of it.
But but it's very quickly overcome. Whereas Nog, we will spend some time and we will do better with this. So I'm pretty sure
the current version of PTSD would involve 5 Ks, 3 Qs, and
I'm sure it would, yeah. And the word for it would probably be "copla," because that seems to be useful in any situation.
Also, I know I mentioned it last week, but I do. It's got one of my favorite little moments. It is when Worf talks about the moment between two warriors.
Yeah.
It's so golden. It's just when he's like, we've all had that moment where it's just an unspoken moment with someone where they've given you something, where they made you feel stronger, and they pay it off later in the episode. That I think is a really strong feature. Yeah, it's like just a moment we locked eyes. He saw that I was about to give up, and he gave me his warrior's heart. It's just
it's really good,
classic Klingon.
And I enjoy just before that you've got Nog there, and Martok comes in. And while Nog's there, the two Klingons are like, "Oh, you're looking forward to a glorious battle. It will be glorious." Then Nog goes and Martok's like, "Oh, my fucking shoulder hurts." It's like they're not gonna show it in front of the Ferengi, but it's like, so while he's there, it's all honor.
It's like
can I get past? Yeah, sorry.
It's like when you go back to the infirmary right at the beginning, and he's getting his thing, and the doctor's stirring him up, and he's gone on about his side. He's like, "I'll only take so much," and then Bashir knows how to deal with him because when he says "thank you for treating him," he goes, "If you want to thank me, stop coming in here dripping blood."
Yeah,
that's really good.
Get it out of the carpet,
and we're starting to see badass.
That's how to talk to it. But that's how to talk to a Klingon.
Yeah, it's hard to talk to him, but also, it's one of the first instances of badass Bashir. When Bashir, when you learn about his super intelligence, and he starts to kind of speak up against kind of stuff like this, he's just so much of a better character. So much.
You've also got to remember that Bashir has also been cellmates with Martok.
Yeah, he has, true. Yeah, so he's got to know him and know how he works.
Yeah, so Bashir, like, it's so. Because we only saw it in one episode, but it was only about a month he was there, but he still spent a month in a cell in Dominion prison.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And he's attended to Martok medically no end of times when Martok's been in that ring fighting and.
Yeah. Did you hear the Klingon opera about it? It is pimp. I'm telling you, it's great.
It is. It comes on 4 different isolinear chips. It's that.
There's one isolinear chip just dedicated to the verse about the doctor who found his wounds.
Exactly. And then I'm not as keen on these guys. Like you get the Klingons turn up, and one of them's like the young brash one, and there's the older one. It's very stereotypy Klingon-y for my money. But
some of the problem is I do get a little hammy. It's like, I will strike him down when he's done.
Yeah.
So they've been watching the old school ones where it was all Shakespearean actors playing.
Yes. I do like, though, that they clarify on this assassination thing, because it's like, oh, well, you can just kill them to a sentence. No, but there are rules to it. Like, you can only do it if there's a reason, and you can only do your immediate superior.
Yeah, which...
Sorry, go on.
I was just about to say, mate, I'm glad that they did this, and it, like we say, it's a mediocre episode, but it's putting things into Klingon culture that we're seeing. And it's a shame that when we had season 1 Discovery, they forgot all this groundwork they did on Klingon culture.
Oh, there's so much Klingon Discovery. But anyway, we'll go past the Klingon. Anyway,
Martok's got. Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say it was the bit though which I think was a writing big mistake, was when you've got Dax and she gets out the phaser, and it's like she is Dax, who we've already established is she is a default Klingon. Like Dax is a default Klingon, and she gets out phaser. Like, what Klingon ship would put up with that shit? Like, I don't care how broken they are. You do not get out phaser. You get out your mat left, back left, or whatever.
Yeah.
You've got, and you go to town.
Dax is as close to being a Klingon without being a Klingon.
Exactly. She would not have got a phaser out. That rankled me so badly in this episode.
I do like that moment where she has that sort of moment of bonding with the female Klingon, where it's like, oh, Curzon knew my mother, and so, well, Curzon were a bit of a player, and so were my mum. And I just...
You're right, my mum was a slag.
but the thing is, it's like...
I like how in Klingon
her
culture,
mum,
though, that the lass is really proud of the fact that her mum was
the fact that
like
she
that.
doesn't... Yeah, she doesn't take that as an affront. It actually becomes something they can bond over. I think it's great.
Yeah. I think it's one of those moments. It's like, it is what it is. My mum was like that. Yeah.
And I like.
Sorry, pardon me. Just very quick. Actually, I suppose what it really does is it does put female sexual empowerment into it. So, like, I'm talking about her being a slag, but it's like when it's a bloke, the stereotype is that a bloke's a warrior for having loads of women, whereas the woman is a slag. And I was joking about that before, if anyone was offended, but it is actually really nice that they do that. It's like she's sex positive. Good. Yeah,
exactly. I do enjoy the use of the Klingon songs, because Klingon songs can get on your wick a little bit, but I like the fact that they use more or less as sea shanties in this episode.
They say that at the start, don't they? Go, it's very much like start serving on an old school pirate ship.
Yeah, and I think that vibe comes across really strongly in this episode. And I like that Worf's trying to get everyone G'd up with the song, and then Dax joins in to try and give him a bit of support, but some of them still aren't having it anyway. And meanwhile, all the way you've got Martok. He don't want to go through the nebula. He lets the Jem'Hadar ship go.
Yeah, well, you only get coffee in nebulas. You don't get rocket.
That's true. That's true. And there is a good bit where they're talking about, well, Martok fears the Jem'Hadar, and it's like, yeah, well, rightly so, because he's been in a prison with them, and they've done a hell of a number on him. It's not surprising.
I do think there is an interesting thing in the fact that everything he's saying is true about the Jem'Hadar. He is talking tactically about them, but it kind of does give away this fear that he's got, which is obviously unspoken. It's very nicely played that you could see it either way. Like, everything he's saying is so true about the Jem'Hadar. Like, they don't give up, that they will they will have these sneaky tactics. All that's true, but it's like, it's very well done, so that, you can't say for sure he's wrong. And Worf's got to pick his moment to decide to declare that,
Yeah, but he does keep avoiding, like, there might be Jem'Hadar, we need to avoid a fight. And that's not Klingon.
No, that's it.
And that's the thing, it's not the Klingon way.
If it was coming from a Starfleet captain, it'd be understandable. But the way they're looking at it is, right, well, we could have got the jump on that Jem'Hadar ship and destroyed it, and that would have been a good move for this crew.
A victory for us.
Exactly. So that's the difference, isn't it? A Federation crew could have just completely ignored it, and there wouldn't have been an issue.
And we'd have thought that's right for a Federation crew, but this is a Klingon crew.
Exactly. And so it does all lead to a big fight. Everybody ends up scrapping and everything. And Dax is the one who takes Worf aside and says, look, this is going to boil over now. It's going to kick off. And when Worf talks to Martok, you do get... He doesn't completely let his guard down, but you do see that he is clearly traumatized by what happened in the prison and everything. And you can see where he's coming from. He would, again, contrasting it with a Federation ship, he'd probably be all right at this moment being a captain of a Federation ship, but just not as a captain of a Klingon ship, because you need to be different. You need to approach battle differently and enemies differently.
Yeah.
And then, we get to... They find the ship that they're looking for, but because it's crossed over, it's almost like the Kobayashi Maru, isn't it? It's like, it's just over the neutral zone. Like, we can't...
I'm not going to risk it.
I mean... Again, let's give props to the writers of the original series, going right back. Like, the neutral zone's such a great kind of bit of plot where it's like, if you got a little no man's land in the middle as well, where you can
in
there. It's great.
The neutral zone is a stretch between the two territories.
So a neutral zone is the no man's land,
but like, no one's allowed in it, so it's a bit of a waste of space, literally.
What amazes me about the neutral zone is, like, the Klingon neutral zone, the Romulan neutral zone. The Klingons and the Romulans will patrol their neutral zone. The Federation don't go patrol the neutral zone. The Federation don't go in it because they expect to get destroyed as soon as they do.
That's true. Yeah.
I think when they say patrolling, I think when they say patrolling neutral zone, I always take that to mean on their side of it, like they're not in the neutral zone; they're patrolling along the outside.
I suppose with the cloaking technology as well, it's a lot different to be able to sort of patrol your side.
I've always thought the claim was like both sides. I've always assumed do some patrols along their side of the neutral zone. So what they say about that,
But then the neutral zone, if it is a neutral zone, you should both be allowed. It should be like the overtaking lane on the motorway. You should be allowed in it if you're there for a reason and you go back to where you were going.
When you say a reason, like I think they can agree sometimes to do some studies in there, or like in All Good Things when they agree to each send a ship in. So there are some agreements, but I think it's a buffer so that otherwise, if you had a straight line, it's like my coordinate. Like how are you meant to know if it's just one like point? Whereas if you've got a mile of space thick,
so carrying on my driving metaphor, then it's kind of like a single yellow line rather than a double yellow line. So you could park on it for a few minutes as long as you go within a reasonable amount of time. You won't get a ticket. Whereas,
I mean, it's more a case of it's
maybe a bit like don't go in the bus lane before whatever time.
That's a better one. Yeah,
I think it's more like it's a bit more nuanced than that. That you have to have specific agreements, like you have to have written things from the Klingons to go in there.
You don't drive. You can't say shit about how complicated the bus lane is. Trust me. It is a sophisticated system.
How many times have you got shot by Klingons for being in the bus lane? That's if your answer's zero.
I nearly got killed by a cyclist in Paris for standing in a cycle lane, but that's another question.
Well, again, I think that's slightly different again.
One of my colleagues has just got, I think it's 2 weeks worth of fines for driving in the bus lane. She didn't realise and got them all land on the doorstep at once.
Oh, I know. It's awful.
Is she fighting that? Because I'm sure they would.
No, they won't, mate. Trust me.
I mean, I know
they do not like that.
Oh, bloody hell.
No. Not with the underfunding of the councils. They're not going to let you have a ticket back.
If you can prove it wasn't sufficiently signed, I think, anyway.
If you're a bus or an Uber, Ding is absolutely right there. Yeah, Ubers and buses are allowed. In fact, I bet they do that. I bet the Klingons use Uber to get like, let us order a Nando's. It is the chicken of a warrior.
But you have to have the chicken delivered alive so you can kill it yourself.
Yeah, there's a guy on a space pedal bike. Like I never get that with.
I've never had a Nando's.
Oh, Nando's is good, mate. Yeah, you want a Nando's? Good.
No.
Good, you do.
Diety.
All right, okay. No, Nando's ain't bad. You can have a Nando's on Slimming World. Trust me. Yeah. But I mean, you don't lose any weight, but you can have it.
I think they also Nando's are one of the most recent ones to have a vegan option as well. So I believe I can.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. And this is a complete digression, but it's a story that's worth telling. So if for anyone who's not been to a Nando's and doesn't know, you go to Nando's, you sit down, you choose what you want, you go up to the counter and you order it, and then they bring you it. They do not come to your table to take your order, which is a bit unusual, which is why when you go in, they say, is this your first time dining at Nando's? And you say, no, I know how it works, fine. A mate of mine went out on a date with a girl at a Nando's, and he didn't want to show himself up. So the guy said, have you been to Nando's before? And he was like, of course I've been to Nando's before. Because for some reason he felt threatened by this. And so he went, yeah, of course I've been to Nando's. So they went down, looked at the menu, blah, blah, and he didn't know you had to go up and think. So he's just sat there with this girl that he's trying to impress. And she's waiting for him to go up and order. And he hadn't got a clue that you meant to go up and order. So they just sat there really awkwardly for ages. Anyway, I enjoyed it.
The other thing to make sure you remember, if you're going into Nando's, if you haven't been before, if you don't order extra hot, you're a pussy. Sorry, that's just
no.
That's just the rule.
And what you have to do as well is when you go up to select your extra bottles, you have to get that like XXX hot one and think you're dead hard and have it. And while we're on the subject of bizarre menu choices, this is just my bugbears. I don't like it in Wagamama. You go in there and they go, Wagamama, sorry. They go,
I like Wagamama.
It shows my disdain for it. So they go, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll write down your order on your table and then I'll cross it off when I bring it to you. How about you write it on a bit of paper and take it to the kitchen? and then they do this one and they go, right, just to let you know, the way we work here is we bring things when they're ready, regardless of whether it's a starter or a main. Well, don't call them starters and mains then. And if you're going to do that, I'll order my starters now, and then I'll order my mains when you bring me them. So I don't like it when they do that. But the worst one, and they're doing this at TGI Fridays at the minute, we're losing all our sponsor deals now. But the worst one is you go to TGI Fridays and they go, what do you want? And you go, I'll have the Frank's hot sauce wings or whatever it is. And they go, yep. And for my main, I'll have the full rack of rib. Yep. And can I have a Coke? Yeah. Do you want any sauces? Yeah. Can I have an extra portion of Jack Daniel's? Yep. And then he goes, write it down. Like, I'm sure that you can remember it because you brought me my meal and it was correct, but just write it down. Like, it doesn't impress me. Basically, I like it when people write down your order and go and get you it. I'm sorry.
Make sure that it's right.
That's just the way I like restaurants to work. I'm sorry if that makes me like old-fashioned or whatever. But that I like my starters for a starter. I like my mains for a main. I like the waiter to have a record of what I've ordered. I don't need it writing on my table. And I just like that confidence of knowing that they've written your order down.
And clearly there are people without honour.
Thank you, Ding. Yes, I don't trust it when they don't write it down because you just don't know. You just
and then
do
you
not
haven't got
know.
any proof while they screw up your order because they haven't written it down.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm glad we've all agreed on that. Anyway, what challenges Matt on the fight to the death?
I was going to say, to be fair, if they fuck up at Wagamama, you can always slap them around the face with the table because they got it wrong.
Just since we're bitching about customer service, it really fucks me off when they don't put prices on things. Like, because then you're in a position where you've got to ask, and then if it's too pricey, you've got to go, oh, we'll just leave it then, which makes you sound like you're a cheap ass when they've overcharged something.
That's why they do it though, because they think that you'll be pressured into buying it.
Oh well,
and like I was,
it's that thing. If you need to ask the price, you can't afford to eat.
Yeah,
here.
fuck off.
Right,
well, fuck off. Then you're too pretentious.
Like, I won't ask the price then, will I? I went to a wrestling event and they had a stall with loads of wrestling merchandise and they had loads of wrestling action figures. And I said, oh, how much are the figures? And he went, depends which one you want. I'm like, well, they're all the same recommended retail price. So you know what? I'll order it off Amazon because I'm not playing silly. But what that means is, depends which one you want, because I'll mark that one up. So, no, thank you. I will obtain it somewhere cheaper. Thank you very much. Anyway.
And you've been listening to Geeks Complain About Customer Service.
Yeah, absolutely. Worf challenges Martok then, and they have this fight. And they do have, like you mentioned earlier on, that moment of he gives him his warrior's heart.
Begins with T. I can't remember the word.
Yeah, can I also throw out a few, like, generally, the Martok and Worf fighting scenes are really good. A few of the blows here are very badly, like they look like they're weak.
Yeah,
I think it's. I think what you have here is that this is probably the first time that you see the pair of them fighting.
Yeah.
So when you
like we have other fights between them, so they probably got better at it and probably more choreography and all that and more.
Well, no, that's fine. But I'm just saying, like it's like we have seen fighting in this before. We have really good jobs, and like it was when Martok does the final blow for him, and like I know he is not trying to kill him, but if he's trying to convince the rest of the crew he has to sell that last thing much better. He just like
true.
It's like a little.
They're also fighting with I forget what the name of the knife is, like a dak or something. Whereas Worf usually fights with a Macleth or a Batleth earlier. It's weird that something like that. So it's weird that he's using that as his weapon in this one. I do like the moment, though, where Worf has got the knife to Martok, and it's where his wound earlier in the episode was, and Worf moves it. It's like he realizes if I press here, I will win, and I need to not win this, but not.
It's amazing
not
though,
because normally
with Starfleet medical science, with a wound and all that, it's healed fully.
Yeah, true.
But I like it's also the fact
like
that
you think
that
it,
moment.
like no, I've got a theory on this.
Go on.
Why, and I think it's part of Klingon courage. And Dr. Bashir's pulled out his magic light and all that, ready to go at Martok's shoulder, and he's gone, "No, needle and thread. That's all I will have."
I also
heal me the way you did in prison. Which that doesn't sound right.
Yeah. Okay, I'll get the candles out. It's a bit where he goes, where they do have the moment of Pakta or whatever they call it when they
began with tea.
Not only does it, not only is it him giving his warrior's heart to Martok, but you also do get the feeling in that moment, Worf's deciding it's like, right, I'm either going to see in his eyes that he's got his heart back, or if I don't, I am prepared to, like, you get all that extra meaning as well. You do know that if he doesn't see that in his eyes, he is going to kill him.
Oh yeah, Worf would kill him.
Yeah, that was really nicely portrayed, though, I thought.
But this is what I sort of alluded to earlier, though. Like, the turnaround in the crew is so fast. It's like, Martok beat Worf. Martok!
Well, the crew just likes a good fight, don't they? That's Klingon nature.
And then Martok's like completely back up his own ass at this point. He's like, yeah, go fight the Klingon.
Oh, let's go rescue everyone and kill the Jedi while we are.
He loves it. He loves it. He just needed a metaphorical and literal kick up ass, and he's fine now. Which, as I said, to say that we're sort of dipping a toe in the waters of PTSD and things is a bit too pat a resolution, but I'll give him a pass because one, it's a Klingon, and two, we're really going to deliver on that with Nog further down the line, so we'll let this one go. Annoyingly, though, the battle takes place off screen, which is just like, right, let's go rescue them. Then the next thing, it's like, we rescued them and it was glorious.
Yeah, and we'll have loads of blood wine now.
Yeah, so a bit disappointed we didn't get a battle, but you've got to save your budget for some of the stuff that's coming up and for the episodes we've just had, so fair play.
That's how it works, and that's always been that I don't think it applies so much now, but that's why we only get 10 episodes per season.
Yeah, absolutely,
Like, if you look at what effects are put in these shows, you'd probably break it down to the same as what we get now in 10 episodes, but they had to spread it over 26.
That's it, exactly, yeah.
And you've also got to consider, it does seem like, especially in, like you say, in a longer series arc, it does seem like the right time to have a Klingon episode. It's well placed within the series. It, again, what we've said before is like they decided purposefully to make the founders the main baddie, but still keep the Klingons in the mix. So you have to give them an episode every now and again.
Well, they were told they had to have the Klingons, weren't they?
Oh, no, yeah. Like I said, we've talked about that before.
But it's very clever what they did here with the Klingons.
Yeah, I just think, like, I think it's, again, it does come off as a sort of middling Klingon episode. And I think especially where you can see there are just a few things if they picked up on, which they put into it. If they picked up on those, cut a few other bits, had Dax had a bloody Klingon weapon in her hands, I'm just saying. If they just done those few extra bits, it could have been a really great episode.
Yeah. But you get the important things. We're establishing General Martok back on a Klingon ship and
Martok Prime.
And he's ready to go fight. We haven't said, but you also, right at the end of the episode, you get General Martok talking with Worf and all that.
Yes, this is good stuff.
And you get him asking, I see you still wearing for the House of Martok. And he says, Jadzia just calls it a keepsake or a sentimental thing. And he goes, well, replace it with this. And I would be honoured to have you in my house. So this is where you get Worf of the House of Martok.
And there you go.
season of Picard. He's still a member of the House.
And that's a more believable bond than Kira had with her dad in the last episode.
Yeah. I think the only thing I would have thrown out from that is they do the thing, because it's just been done so many times when he goes like, but how did you know I wouldn't stab you? I didn't. It's just to get to the. It sort of feels almost like an original series move to get to the. At the end of the episode.
To be fair, I think Worf did know that he wouldn't kill him because they'd swap the special.
Well, that's what I mean. But like they covered it in the episode.
They'd swap the looks, but Worf is just having to say, like, for bravado, because he's a Klingon and hard and all. Like, well, I didn't know you'd kill me, but I'm hard enough to take it.
No, I think he did. I buy that he didn't. But either way, the whole premise of this episode is built on this is an unspoken moment, and then they speak of it. It's like
true. It'd have been good if Worf had gone, I knew you wouldn't kill me because you are still a pussy. And then he just walks off.
And they just go at it with Batless again on the stage. Credits. I would love that.
Yeah, that'd have been good. And then next episode starts with them still fighting. Like, call me that one more time, Worf.
I was going to be in sick bay, like Bushes. They go, I fucking told you to.
I told you about my carpet.
But would have been nice it would have been nice if they kind of got to that bit, and then as opposed to having the mega happy ending, which they kind of have here, it would have been actually really, really fun if they'd gone. It's like rematch in the holodeck, brilliant, and they'd gone off to it.
The end of Rocky 3, it finishes with them swinging the batleths, and it turns into a big painting.
Oh man, this is how it could have been a great episode. I think we are being so fair here to say it was a good episode, but it could have been a great episode.
I think it's a good episode, and I think it's really good for establishing things. And it does the great thing of, like we've alluded to lots, where the studio told them they had to have the Klingons, but they still wanted to do it Dominion War. And this is brilliant because it brings the Klingons in on their side, and we're establishing now as Martok is going to work with the station.
That's it. We've got Martok as a player now in the bigger story, which is good.
It also enables us doing it this way that we can explore so much Klingon culture because they're now brought in as allies. We can go onto the ships in that way, as opposed to them being enemies and we'll see little bits, but it's all going to be Federation fighting.
And it means we get a Bird of Prey as more or less our second hero ship for the show.
I wonder if this could be the same Bird of Prey model as what Gulda Cat had.
I think some of it's the exact same footage as what Gulda Cat had. So
actually, now you've just raised a good point, though. You said that about Martok, which they did establish in the last episode we were talking about, that he was now basically the go-between between the Klingon Empire and the Federation. But that isn't a full-time job. This is the same as my point about Sisko being both the captain of the Deep Space Nine and the Defiant. And he's also, you've got Martok is the go-between between the Klingons and the Federation. That's not a full-time job. He also goes on the ship.
No, but Martok commands a garrison which is stationed at Deep Space Nine. But if Gowron rings him up and says, you need to go rescue this thing, he still needs to do it.
Yeah.
I just still think he's a full-time job.
But he's also got a ship now. He didn't have a ship before this episode.
But what I'm saying is, though, I still think that, being the emissary between the Klingons and the Federation, that's a full-time job. Being the station captain is a full-time job. Being the Defiant captain is a full-time job. And being the captain of the Rotunda, or whatever it's called, is a full-time job. And they're both moonlighting. I know, again, it's for plot's sake. You want to keep them all in the action at all times.
Yeah, but to be fair, Worf's the captain of Defiant, unless every episode where Sisko's on it.
He come on, exactly.
Let's not get bogged down in it. Anyway, I think that'll do us for these episodes. But next week, we've got... It's not a 2-episode finale, but we've got the episode before the finale, then we've got the finale. And they do lead into each other. We are doing In the Cards and Call to Arms.
What about the episode before? There's one before that.
There's not, is there?
There is. I can't remember his name.
I did my definitive list.
Oh, your definitive list is wrong.
There can't be.
Let's have a look.
It's an odd one.
Okay. Well, while we're doing that, if you want to get in touch with us,
it's the one where the survivors of the Marquis go to attack Cardassia.
Do they attack? Well, we said we were going to do the Maquis separately as like.
Yeah, but isn't attacking Cardassia going to be weak Dominion?
I would save that for our Maquis coverage because otherwise we'll have done the end of Eddington's story before we've done the start of Eddington's story.
Oh, okay.
Blaze of Glory, and we could also have. It would be interesting. That actually would be an interesting arc because we can bring in Voyager as well. That's
I was off to. I will yield to that one because
we've got to make these divides at some point. Yeah. So we're back next week covering them. If you want to get in touch with us, we're at RetrekPod on Twitter. Go on, Dr. Squee.
Sorry, did you say Empok weird?
Empok Nor's not. No, that's just a Cardassian. It's not a Dominion.
Okay, I wasn't sure because it's sort
of... No, it isn't because it's...
well, you got Vorta in there.
Have you?
Isn't that the one where they kill the Vorta on there?
No, that's
the
Magnificent Ferengi.
Ah, there you go. Yeah,
but it's set on Empok Nor.
Thank you, sir.
So, you can email us retrekpod@gmail.com. You can check us out on all the socials. Elliot's got Retrek Model Studios. And what we're working on.
Still building the Ferengi shuttle.
Excellent. And the offer still goes as of last week if you need any brown felt.
And I have, if anybody needs any 2.1 jack plugs, because I accidentally ordered 4 lots of 4 instead of just 4.
So what
we're saying is, if you want to get felt up by Elliot, please drop him a line.
And jacked.
Not touching that one.
Dr. Squee, what have we got going on with the Dr. Squee show?
Due to some technical errors with just couldn't get the signal to go through to the radio station last week. So again, we're going to have Richard Ashton, as promised last week, is going to be Tuesday's guest. And I need to get my ass in gear and sort out some interviews because I've been dealing with some work interviews instead recently. So yeah.
Should have just recorded them.
And next
week that would be fascinating.
And just to let everyone know, next week we'll be going out on Thursday again.
We're keeping it, we're mixing it up. Well, thanks for.
We can get away with it while we're not covering news.
We can.
Well, it gives you a bit of extra time to catch up on these episodes, which are only 30 years old. So, you haven't had your chance, so we want to give you an extra day.
Exactly. So, thanks for trekking with us this time. We will see you next time on the Retrek.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Drag off and LLAP.
Fascinating.
One day we'll have to show them the dad dancing we do behind the scenes when that's available.
We can't show that.